Now the light has come. The light from the sun has shone through the clouds. God has arrived. Later, Phil Anselmo paid the bail money to have Williams released. Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, whether we like it or not. That's a whole new discography per episode. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined as always by my sludgy co-host, Alexander Volts. Say hello.
Hello.
And today we will be discussing every album by
Eyehategod.
Do You Now, Alex? This was requested on Patreon by Donald. Thank you, Donald, for supporting us and sticking with us and giving us your money and asking us to cover music that we are typically fans of, as opposed to sometimes that doesn't happen on Patreon. Also, we're no longer accepting requests on Patreon because Alex is leaving the show by the end of the year. If you don't know why he's leaving the show, check out our King Crimson Part 1 episode where he goes into full detail. It's because he hates me, and we're doing this begrudgingly. But until then,
if you want to be cool, if you still want to support us,
if you still want to support me, honestly, by the time he's gone, I'm going to be alone with an empty hat and can on the curb. But there's still plenty of stuff. There's still bonus episodes. There's still community stuff. There's a lot to enjoy, even if your request has been done and you're still hanging out there. It's fun stuff. Whatever. We'll talk about that later. For now, Eyehategod. A little bit refreshing from the last full episode that we did. Not to keep shitting on Green on Red, but it was rough. And knowing that this band was next on the list, I've never heard them before until now. Mm-hmm. Knowing that this band was next on the list, I at least had in my mind, thank God, something a little bit more extreme and a little bit more a completely different experience than before. What's your backstory with them?
I've been wanting to do a deep dive with them forever. I know who they are. I've heard a few songs in passing. I've just never given them the proper time of day. So I was glad this episode, this is like my first real deep dive into them. And I might have my sludge metal card revoked from me by the end of the episode.
For those listening only, I'm blown away. I'm speechless. Yeah. Alex doesn't like them?
Yeah, I may come around on a few things, but I'm not really a fan.
Holy I can't believe what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
You're the sludge man.
I'm the sludge man.
Yeah. You're the sludge man.
Yeah.
How do I like them more than Alex? What?
I don't know. Last year, wild shit's happening.
Holy crap.
They're legendary. And I fully acknowledge, the path they laid down for the sludge community and this that small but vital, important New Orleans metal scene. But it was a bit much for me at times.
This is funny. On our notes, because we have notes from our history guy, Tom Osman, who you should all go support and follow. He compiles a bunch of stuff, a lot of interviews. We have some good stuff here. But on his notes, he wrote as his own comment. He says, "I'm not saying you have to love Eyehategod, but if you don't, I'm not sure we can still be friends."
Well, I guess we're not friends. I don't hate them, but it is a bit much in 1 week.
Here's the thing. We're both not friends with Tom anymore because I don't love them. I like them. Okay. I think they're good. I think they're a good ass band. I think they're a consistent band. I think they're a good band. I like them.
Yeah.
I don't love them. I think one album. I love one album.
Okay.
But I don't love them as a whole. I think they're a cool band. This is one of the most specific fucking bands. I mean, you get what you're getting. I mean, you are getting what you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. They have this hybrid style of sludge and doom metal mixed with punk rock. And that's it.
Yes.
That is it.
But the thing is, even within that, there is variation because for the most part, you get the punk rock stuff, the sludge stuff. But within the sludge stuff, you get the two camps. You get the bitter, ugly, hideous, wrong notes all over the place, or Sabbath worship.
Yes.
And I am a much, much bigger fan of the former. And when they start leaning on the Sabbath stuff, I start to tune out. I start to get a little annoyed. Some parts I'm like, that is just a fucking Sabbath riff. That's like a whole Sabbath section. Crazy. I've never been a fan of the overly pentatonic stuff. We talked about that on our sleep episode and other bands like Caius and plenty of other bands. But I'm just not a big pentatonic guy because I've heard, never heard it. You just heard it enough, but it's still fun. I still pulled off well. I think there are good arrangers. I think they've been like pretty impressive arrangers of songs since the very beginning. You never know where a song is going to go, and even toward the end of these albums, the more recent stuff, it gets way weirder. They start branching off and doing very interesting stuff. But so they're like sludge in a nutshell. Like you want a definition of a sludge band, you point to these guys, and that's already contentious and funny because this is all news to me, brand new band for me. Tom writes here because Tom is a big fan, of course. He says apparently the consensus is they're sludge metal. I once tried to point out that Mike Nine, the singer of the band, in the liner notes to one of their albums, calls the band, quote, Southern hardcore blues. And I suggested this is how they should be referred to on Rate Your Music. My suggestion was given short shrift, and these are some of the responses that he got after suggesting that, like lightheartedly suggesting that in Rate Your Music.
Yeah.
This one from Tyler McCracker Jacker, Southern hardcore blues band from New Orleans, instant no. This one from Doom Inquisitor, doesn't matter what the band call themselves. They are pure sludge. Every of their albums is sludge. They are sludge band. Camille TJE says, I understand Southern hardcore blues and I like it, but to keep things factual and objective, please revert the search hint. And Tom writes, the elders have spoken. So they're sludge. I mean, yeah,
sure.
Like it's the same way. This is going to be the most alienating of references in the world, and it's going to make me seem like I shouldn't be talking about this band. My Chemical Romance. They don't consider themselves an emo band, but the world does. Mm-hmm. So who's right? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. With a band like this, you can't listen to it and not think sludge. That's for sure.
Yes, and I do hear Southern twang stuff peppered in there. I can hear it.
Totally. There's tons of Southern in there. There's lots of blues in there. There's lots of Sabbath in there. I mean, it comes with pentatonic stuff, but the sludginess is always there. The vocals are always there. And yeah, let's go into some of this backstory. We have, I believe, 3 interviews, each of them with Mike Nine, singer. First, one of them is from this year, 2025, with Discipline Magazine by Daniel Dijon, and another one from 2021 from New Noise, which is where Tom works. He works for New Noise, and this is done by a guy named Mick R. Tom plugs his blog, which is called thesound.blogspot.com, THA sound. He just wanted to give Mick a little shout out. And then the last interview is from 2014 from NPR by Kim Kelly. Okay, Mike Nine is the guy. He's not even their first singer. The band was formed by Jimmy Bauer, the guitarist. And Mike Nine is their second singer. He still came in in 1988 when the band formed, but he was their second vocalist. And this guy has been through hell.
Sure.
From what I recollect.
I mean, Jimmy Bauer has too, but yeah, I just think being a part of Eyehategod is going through hell.
Indeed. This is from the wiki on Mike. It says that he's from North Carolina. It says his parents died when he was a child. At the age of 15, he left home. He began attending punk rock shows and using drugs at this age. Jesus Christ. He recalled, yeah, man, I was a teenager back in the old days going to see Black Flag, Misfits, Minor Threat, Dead Kennedys. We did episodes on all those bands, so check out all those episodes.
Yep.
That was my teenage years doing all that stuff. The wild stuff came with that. That was back in the 80s. And this interview talks about some of his more unusual influences, like SBK and Throbbing Gristle. I think they described it as noise stuff. And Mike says, I really don't like saying noise stuff or noise music. It just sounds so simplified, but when explaining to someone who may not know who the hell SPK or TG is, I guess it's a necessary evil. Used to be able to say industrial, but like you did above, we need to preface it with first wave. In these different times, industrial is synonymous with techno dance music mostly. That's a thing that I have also struggled with. When you say industrial, you think of the people with the gigantic platform boots and makeup, and they're cyborgs. Most of them are cyborgs, I'm pretty sure. But when I think of industrial, I think of metal clanging early Swans, the band God, like crazy, really things that sound like the Industrial Revolution more than anything else.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds like Eyehategod likes being really specific about genres.
And I appreciate that, because this next paragraph does another thing that I've struggled with. He says, it's one of those things like saying hardcore in 2025. People immediately think of some lunkhead music and NYHC bands. I've always said hardcore punk because the two go together like peanut butter and jelly. Hardcore without punk is meathead sports jock bullshit, and I hate it. Experimental is a good catch-all phrase. Yes, dude. Because every time I say hardcore, I'm referring to hardcore punk. Always.
Yeah. But yeah, now
it usually 80s hardcore punk.
Yeah, now it's like a whole other thing. It's like bands like Knocked Loose or some of those meathead bands he was talking about there.
Not even bad bands. We like Knocked Loose a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's not even that I think they're bad bands. It's just when you take a pre-existing subgenre name and then you just apply it to something that sounds nothing like it, that's very, very frustrating and confusing.
Yes.
Let's see. Going back to the earlier question about SPK and Throbbing Gristle, he says, I love those early groups because they are unique. They took the idea of Dada artists and punk rock having absolutely no rules and ran with it, adding an unhealthy or healthy or unhealthy appreciation for various forms of art, the majority of it ultra abstract, and some with darker intellectual theories. How would you say that applies to Eyehategod's music?
I'm surprised to hear someone in Eyehategod talk about like Dada art music, but it is extreme. It is dark. It is, there's like a shock factor to some of the lyrics. It's a very, very bleak world the band paints.
No kidding. Just look at literally any of their album covers. Really cool album covers, by the way. But and this is yet another. It keeps popping up in our faces, and we can't avoid it. Another quote from him. He says, "Einstürzende Neubauten were another early find that I think I read about in Forced Exposure. Maybe heard them on college radio." Alexander Hack from Ian is as a friend. He's been to see a couple of my bands in Berlin, and I was at a rehearsal in Brooklyn with him. Yeah, the fact that even they come up. This band keeps coming up for us around every corner. But I was not expecting Neubauten to come up in Eyehategod. I was not expecting that.
Or Throbbing Gristle, even.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or Throbbing Gristle. Jesus Christ. But now we have some nice. The quotes here are really good. They're like specific to each album. He gives a little insight to each album, so we might as well jump into all the records. And today, the band is still going strong, by the way. But right now, we're covering 6 albums total. And the first one came out in 1990. Originally came out in 1990, and then the most recent 2021. So, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. This is 1990s in the Name of Suffering. That's how you open a sludge album. A deep ass bass.
That's how you open up 6 out of 6 Eyehategod albums, pretty much.
More or less. Dude, this is as raw as it gets. Messy, sloppy. It was recorded live. There's no overdubs. And you could tell.
Yeah. Costs $1,000 to make.
Oh my God. Oh, we'll talk more about that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
course, $1,000 in 1990 money is probably like $2,000 now. So still pretty good.
Still pretty impressive.
So, huge characteristic of sludge, the slowing down in the middle of riffs.
Yes.
But this is Eyehategod. This song is the ultimate elevator pitch for the band.
Yes. Yeah.
God, it's so grimy. All right, so before we listen to too much, because we're going to hear a lot more stuff like that, this is their first album. And this, I think, their best and my personal favorite.
I knew that was coming. This for how like raw this album is.
So it is the rawest.
Yeah.
It is the rawest of raw. This is the only one that really reminded me of like Thor's Hammer or check it out on Thor's Hammer or even, you know, Burning Witch for that matter, where it's like, it feels live. It feels raw. It feels, when you listen to sludge, when I listen to sludge, I want the mistakes. I want the dirt and mud. I want the shittiness of it. If it's too cleaned up, what I feel like, and I feel like this was some of the stuff as it goes on, that I'm just listening to a very slow death metal. And I like death metal, but I'm really specific with which death metal I like. I don't typically like when it comes to music that's really extreme, I like it fucked up. I like it bad, really. And it doesn't get more fucked up than this one.
Yeah, I think when it gets cleaned up, it starts sounding more like The Sword, which is nothing wrong in my opinion with that. But then yeah, it's a different band. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's this particularly like the first two songs, Depress and Man Is Too Ignorant to Exist. It's this like those big, heavy, like repetitive riffs that get stuck in my head.
They're great. And what this album does, I think that no other album does, it is from beginning to end mostly empty of Sabbathy pentatonic riffs. Another reason that I think it's the best and my personal favorite is there's so little of like the stoner rock essence on here.
I do think Man Is Too Ignorant. There are parts where it sounds like fast Sabbath a bit.
Yes, I agree. No, for sure. I mean, the way it comes in, it's like a very Sabbathy kind of sludge, but it also feels a lot like sludge era Melvins, which is like most Melvins are the greatest, and I like the way they do it more than any other band. Yeah,
I get that most from Shinobi. That's the
boy. What a great song! What a great song. Man, that opening riff is just like the ugliest riff imaginable. It's just so unpleasant, but that's why it's good. That's why I think it's great here.
Yeah, they took like the ugliest, nasty Melvin songs early in their career and they somehow made it nastier.
Much nastier. There's a section on 420 that's so brutal, so great.
Nice.
And yeah, this one is, I was delighted by this. I was, because it's everything I love about sludge. Of course it's slow and it does the tempo shifts and it feels like you're getting seasick a little bit, where it just kind of speeds up and slows down. And then when it goes to the punk section, it's like a hard break and then it goes into it. And it's never very good. Like it's never performed really well. It always sounds like they're barely hanging on to each other and they're all like dying. But it's like, that's why you can't really recreate that. You can't, I don't think you could perform it that way. It would take too much.
Effort or not feel genuine at a certain point.
It would be the amount of effort it would take to purposefully play this slightly off and to be this slightly not in time and to be this slightly not on the same page. It's like, it so outweighs the sincere or like the what would you call it? It so much outweighs what makes it charming that you just needed these dudes to be at this skill level and with this budget and with these songs. It just feels like a perfect little moment. I love it.
Nice. I love like Run It Into the Ground, where he kind of does like slowed down Tasmanian Devil vocals as opposed to like, I always think of Soul Glow when I think of like Tasmanian Devil vocals, but he's like doing it slow here.
Yeah, he's a real Tasmanian Devil singer. I mean, he from beginning to end. In the end, I kind of have mixed feelings about his voice toward the end, but here it's completely unhinged. It is very slobbery. He's one of the most slobbery vocalists.
Slobbery is another good word to do. Yeah.
I mean, no one's more slobbery than Tasmanian Devil. And it fits so perfectly. It's not like a Thor's Hammer where it's just pure growls. It's not a Burning Witch where it's high shrieks. It's this completely manic, slobbery, slurring, just screams.
Yeah.
And I think it's its own little personality there.
Yeah. Probably pulling more from punk than metal there.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny, he also mentioned NYHC, like New York hardcore, is its own kind of thing. But when I think of New York hardcore, of course, I think of the early New York hardcore, which even though it became its own kind of thing years later, in the early 80s, even then, New York hardcore had its own kind of personality, its own style. You could kind of tell. You knew Agnostic Front when you hear like bands like that, Antidote, other bands from New York, that you could just tell that they're from New York. When they go punk, they sound like that, which is kind of interesting that he cited that. That it's not when he's not referencing New York hardcore when he says hardcore, but that's the actual scene that comes to mind when I hear the punk sections. What other stuff? I mean, I love it. This is the only album where I think I like every song.
Every track.
Every song I think is great. Yeah. Pigs is great. Has a lot more swing than I was expecting. It's real sleazy.
Beats kind of like a bouncy, like you said, like a swing bouncy beat. Yeah. I heard God's Song and I'm like, I'm not even going to look up this audio clip. I just know it's Charles Manson.
Oh, was it?
I didn't look it up. There's like no way it's not.
So the samples, there's a lot of spoken word samples on the first few albums, and they do it. I like the way it's pulled off. It's kind of like where they sort of it sounds like it's on a sampler and they're just hitting the key over and over again, where it's just sort of repeating over and over again.
Yeah. And I did look it up right now. It is Charles Manson. Yeah. This fucking
okay. Yeah. Well, with a band like this, they're not gonna be pulling from fucking Gandhi or something.
Yeah.
But, it fits. All the sample stuff, it fits. I like the way it's pulled off here pretty well. I don't love it on every album the way they do it so much, but I think it's great here. The thing is, really, you describe one song, you describe every song, more or less. This is the only one that just doesn't really have very many Sabbathy parts. It's just these aren't catchy riffs at all. These are just ugly, hideous, sludgy. It's not a pleasant album at all. This isn't a pleasant band at all.
No.
And most people aren't going to like this at all. I mean, really, that's what it is.
Yeah. I think it's like a cool debut. It's kind of, I guess you could kind of trace sludge to the late 80s if you really wanted to, but I think it's a cool like earlier sludge metal album for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. This album was originally released in 1990, but it was reissued. It was originally released in France in 1990 on Intellectual Convulsion. Which band was it that and that label came up recently? It might have been like Daz and Kilman or something like that.
Let me see.
Where they put out who are reuniting, by the way. Hell yeah. I forget, but that label has come up in a previous episode. But this is what Mike says about this album. He says it was an album we recorded when we were in our 20s. Had no idea how to be in a studio. It's like that's a snapshot of that time. We had no idea what we were doing back then. That album was recorded straight live. The whole thing, we were like, overdubs, what's that? But it is what it is. Like I said, I love it all. I think it's the fucking best.
Yeah. Also, your memory is immaculate. Intellectual Convulsion put out the Dazzling Kilman album, Dig Out the Switch.
That's right. The first album, right?
I believe so. And then I don't know these other bands, but maybe you have Fetish 69 and Splintered. And they got one.
Rings a bell, but I don't know them.
They did one Misery album, so.
But I don't know Misery.
A crust punk band from Minnesota.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting that this French label put all these crazy noise rock albums out.
I don't know how you remembered that. That's insane.
I remember it being so unusual that some random French label came. Yeah. But also, Check It Out on Doesn't Kill Me. They recently reformed with 2 out of the 4 members, which is very exciting. Very exciting. Very happy to hear that. Hopefully, get to see them at some point. That'd be fucking amazing. But anyway, my best and personal favorite. Because it's so rough, because it's so fucked up. With music that's more extreme. The tighter and cleaner it is, the more it sounds. I can't even explain it. I don't know why it is that I prefer it. Maybe it's just preference.
Just a preference thing. Doesn't have to be that deep. Yeah,
because I do like some clean stuff. Like Necrophagus is one that's super polished and extreme, and I like that. But I do tend to prefer it when it's just a mess. So
sure.
Hell yeah. So moving on to the next one. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hell yes. This is 1993's Take As Needed for Pain. Any minute.
Any minute now. Feels very cool, very like Black Flag riff.
Yeah. Oh, this actually feels great. Better production, that's for sure.
They feel tighter too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like these great Gin riffs and then like chugging, and it's just.
Yep. Chugging. Great section. Say goodbye, because we're done with that section now. They're not coming back. Well, they might come back to it, I forget. I don't think they come back to it, though. And now we're in Sludge Town.
You said that, I was trying to imagine what like a sludge Guy Fieri would look like, and I guess he would look like Jimmy Bauer.
I need to look at the photo of Jimmy Bauer.
Just a huskier dude.
Yeah, he's got quite a beard on him.
Yeah, like, although proposing a sludge version of Guy Fieri is, it's an absurd idea in itself.
But then again, it feels right, doesn't it? Doesn't it just feel right?
It does. I'm going to give this one best one. I think, I don't know. It feels the easiest to recommend. The fans seem to like it. It's kind of hard to recommend more than a handful of Eyehategod albums, so I think this is the one.
That's funny. Worst least favorite for me. And it makes no sense that we would disagree on a band like this. It makes no sense. And honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't feel that strongly about this. I don't think this band has any bad albums. I think it's hilarious that I'm giving this worse and you're giving it best.
You're going to die in the comments section.
I don't care.
No, I know.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a bad album. I don't think they have any bad albums. This is just you open it up with you're losing your sludge card and how much you don't like the band, and I'm the one giving them the one who's actually going to get the real shit.
You're giving their most beloved album. Yeah.
So my reasoning is simply this. It's the most Sabbathy album. And I'm okay with without
you
that.
think this is the most Sabbathy album? I would argue some of the later era stuff is, but
I think they do keep going to the Sabbath. Well, the things that about the later albums that we'll talk about more is that they do other things in addition to it. This is just like, this is why this is a perfect example of why I think people like sludge. Like, I'm not even that surprised that this is what people's favorite is, because this is the traditional, is that even the right word? Traditional sludge subgenre.
Sure.
Where it's like, see, when I go to sludge, and the reason I love sludge is like the more Melvin side of things, where it's like these bitter, dark, ugly, evil riffs. Whereas a lot of sludge bands are that, but pentatonic, hard rock, southern, Sabbathy riffs. I don't like that side of it. I just don't like that side of it. And this has so much of that.
I still think it's plenty ugly. I mean, not only do we have one song called Sister Fucker, we have two songs called Sister Fucker Part 1 and 2.
Dose.
And
I will say about those songs.
Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
And in terms of like gnarly shit on here, we have a song that was like retitled White Neighbor.
Dude, I learned that like 30 seconds ago. I was looking at the wiki for. I was like, why is this song called White N-Word? I was like, wait, what song? I don't remember that song. Yeah, it's called White Neighbor now, but it was originally White N.
Yeah, and Dale Crover suggested the name change.
Well, yeah, it doesn't look good on no well, anywhere.
No. So they're lucky Dale was around.
Wait, when was the name change?
I think like 2013.
That's longer. It's longer ago than I thought, but also not that long ago. Yeah.
So yeah, there's still plenty of dirt and controversy here. I still think is it Mike 9 still sounds as nasty as ever. And even the lyrics on White Neighbor, like, you know, the name is, you know, what it is, but like the actual lyrics, they don't say that, and it kind of just seems like a kind of like empowering song where like we're all kind of trash. We should like band together. And
yeah. I mean, especially when you look at 93, things were not quite as sensitive, and something like that can mean something else. It could be a much more nuanced statement than if you do that today. It's going to be hard to make that argument. It's going to be you'll be arguing and trying to explain yourself for a long time. It won't work as well.
I don't
want to change the name.
I think it was like Patton Oswalt who like kind of talked about like the 90s and early 2000s where he like got this sense that, you know, like comedians and musicians maybe thought like racism was in the past, and then like there was this sense they were moving forward, and then, you know, some real life things, you know, dragged it into prominence again.
Well, he comes from one perspective. That's one way to look at it. Not everyone will agree with that, but I don't mind that so much. But I don't fully agree with that either. But you know, it's just one side of it. 90s were the Wild West. 90s were like the ultimate Wild West, because it was like technology became to this certain peak, and it was like the last time everything was. I described this actually earlier today to my lady friend as like the internet is like the internet is basically just a giant light in a dirty bathroom. You just kind of open, it just turns on the lights. This is before the lights got turned on. That's kind of what happened. That's what the 90s were.
Yeah, I think also too, there was I always think of like 80s being like the decade of like decadence and like, you know, big hair and cocaine for America. And then I think middle class people had it like pretty good going into the 90s. I think there was like a real sense of you know, we can't be stopped.
It was the peak. I would say like the kind of the peak of Western civilization was the 90s. It was again before the lights got turned on, before the veil got lifted, before the rug got pulled. It was before everything kind of came, when the world got involved with everything, because before it was no internet. There's a lot less world involved in everything. It was an interesting time. I wish I remembered more of it. I mean, it was just my childhood in there. So I only remember like the stuff that a kid would remember, like just the TV shows and shit. And, but yeah, it's an interesting topic. But as for some of these songs, okay, so to go back to the nicely titled Sister Fuckers parts 1 and 2.
Sure.
I was okay with part 1 at first. It lost me on second listen. It's so goddamn stonery. I'm fine with stonery every now and then, but I gravitated more toward part 2, which is the sludgier one.
Yes. It's so funny. I initially hated the band Down, and then like I loved them for a little bit, and now I'm like, whatever. And yeah, because Jimmy Bowers is also in that band, and like it's so interesting, like now properly listening to Eyehategod, and I can hear like a lot of his like riffs like that he pulled from Eyehategod and gave it a more traditional like rockin' like southern feel. Like Down is like a heavier, nastier like CCR if they were like actually from the South. So
I still haven't heard Down. I'm a little reticent, but I know you were a big fan of 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, I mean, the song "Lifer" is like probably one of Jimmy Bowers' like greatest riffs he's ever written. So,
oh shit,
yeah,
I'm curious. I'm interested after this, especially.
Yeah, it's definitely more Sabbathy, but like I said, it's a grittier like you could actually hear the southernness like way more in Down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's still, like you said earlier, plenty of ugly on here. I think I was just so caught off guard with how much Sabbath was going to show up, because there was there was so little on the previous album. I thought like, oh, this is my kind of band, and then all of a sudden every other song, it's like, oh fuck, really? And it's still not like bad. The only songs I don't care for are, one is the obvious one, Disturbance, which I think is cool for 3 minutes, but then it goes on for another 3 minutes. And it's just old recordings talking about catheters and creepy ambience and, atmosphere. It's not really a song. It's more of a piece.
Yeah. I don't mind it. I guess, with sludge, you're going to have 6-minute interlude songs. And to me, it helps the title track, which hits like a ton of fucking bricks after Disturbance. So I think it does like a good job of setting up the title track.
I like the title track. I don't love those riffs. I think I like this is a perfect example of my kind of overall thoughts on the band starting from this album. Is like, I like how they arrange. I like how they pull off the songs more than I like how the songs are written. Because like even my soft spot for the sludge, not aesthetic, but I guess aesthetic, the sludge essence, the sludge thing, the way sludge feels, even that's getting tested at some points when the riffs, especially on this album, and it does it really bad on these next 3 tracks I'm going to talk about, where they start kind of repeating similar intervals. So Sister Fucker Part 2, it's fine. I'm okay with it. I don't love it, but I'm cool with it. It has a lot of ugly riffs that I'm on board with. And then Crimes Against Skin comes on, and it's like, okay, this is getting really, really pentatonic, but it does feel pretty damn good. And I think like the final minute is one of my favorite sections on the whole album. Great. And then Kill Your Boss comes on, and it opens with yet another dun 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 dun. It's basically Sister Fucker Part 2 again. Mm-hmm. And it's so much in a row of like the same kinds of riffs that I am beat down.
I think the like lyrics for Kill Your Boss got me through that. But yeah, when I got to Crimes Against Skin, I was like, these are big, beefy riffs, and if you're not a fan of that, the repetition of those pentatonic riffs, you're gonna be having a bad time here. And I didn't realize I'd be talking about you, but
yeah,
my joke for Crimes Against Skin is that's about Edward James Olmos's face, right?
That poor man, in his skin.
I love some Edward James, but I had to.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the bombardment of pentatonic riffs. Yeah, if you're into the style, I'm also surprised that you're not bigger on them, because you're fine with that. You're fine with the super pentatonic Sabbathy stuff.
Yeah, I think sounds like a little fucked up to say. I think maybe like if the band had like broken up and disappeared after Dopesick, I may like look at them in a different light. But I think they have a beefy body of work, and so there's like plenty of it. And to me, it has diminishing returns.
Interesting. I found them to be, if you're in the mood for it, like, I don't think any of these is like a wrong way to turn, but the first three have their thing. The first three are like classic sludge. This is like, classic sludge in a nutshell. The same with the first album, where tempos are drastically shifting mid-riff, mid-song, back and forth. And it sounds woozy. It sounds messed up and messy. It is more put together for damn sure than the first one. And there's still like really good moments in here, like a weirdly flipper ass bass line on Who Gave Her the Roses, which I'm all for that.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite songs on the album. It's technically the closer, but it has this really, really, really abrupt ending. And then it goes into the outro, which is this, it's called Laugh It Off. It's these voices laughing, overlapping. Oh, yeah. That's actually quite a cool outro.
Yeah.
But yeah, stuff like $30 Bag, which I don't know if they just didn't realize that you're supposed to put the $sign before the number instead of after. I'm not sure why that's like that, but $30 Bag is another one where I like it, but that's, they're going so hard into Black Sabbath stuff that I start to get a little bit worried, and I start to get bored. And that's just what happened here.
Look, there's a lot of drugs and opiates going around this band. Sometimes you put the $sign after.
Yeah, and what's the big deal? Also, Shoplift is a good song. I'm not going to forget that one either.
Also, the way you say it, it should be after.
It should be after. Honestly, we do a lot of dumb shit in the West in English. So anyway.
Hey, these Southern drug addicts make a good point.
They're damn right. But you can go ahead and hog tie me and drag me through Louisiana if you want. But worst, least favorite for me, I'm just not a big fan of the Sabbath stuff. And even though they stay doing that for the rest of the albums pretty much, they also do other things that I find more interesting. Whereas this is straight sludge, straight Sabbath. It's not for me. And Alex's best.
If I'm going to recommend one Eyehategod album, I think it's this one.
Fair enough. But now that we've scared off every fan of this album now, would you like to continue?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
This came out in 1996. This is Dopesick. One of my favorite song titles, maybe ever. My Name is God, I Hate You.
They really, they really went to the well on that one. So I don't talk over it. This eventually does get to a punk part, and I feel like the punk part was abandoned on the last album.
That's what, yes. It doesn't come in until like 2:30.
Okay, so we'll
get to it. But.
Yeah.
Oh. He is losing his fucking mind on that microphone.
to the uninitiated, I bet they're like, they just played the same 3 opening songs. Again.
Kind of. Yeah, what are you gonna do? Yes, it does get punky again in 230. Forgot to mention that on the last album, the punk stuff was gone. Another reason why I was disappointed, because they set up this thing, the evil riffs, hideous riffs on the first album, every now and then a punk section, and the second album was just like Sabbathy sludge, which is another reason why I was so turned off by it. I like this album. This is my second favorite album of theirs.
Yeah. I think the follow-up song, Dog's Holy Life, does this weird thing where I feel like they usually do one section and switch to the other, but it pulls off this cool trick of being like kind of punk, kind of sludge at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very brief song. It's only 1:10, and ton of changes. I mean, so like this. Really, a lot of it, when I used to call it death metal, well, I still call it death metal syndrome. Death metal syndrome. When you hear a death metal band, if you like a riff, good luck, because it's going to be gone in 2 bars and it'll never come back. There's so many riffs per song. This is that, but they're just slower songs. It really is. Sludge is really death metal, but slow. So that's the give and take with stuff like this. You find a great riff, but oftentimes it's going to be gone pretty quickly. But there's still lots of cool. So this album, I think, is a nice blending of the first 2. It has the crazy, brutal, hideous, ugly riffs. It has the Sabbathy stuff, and it has the punk stuff. It has it all.
Yes. Yeah. This is also when I like started feeling a little lost in the weeds as well. Like appropriately during Masters of Legalized Confusion, I'm just
hell of a name.
I'm like, I don't know if you played me short, like 30-second intervals of Eyehategod. I couldn't fucking tell you. Although I guess you could say that about a lot of bands, but
yeah. Yes. Does it sound interchangeable? Yes. Are hardcore fans going to know the difference? Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
The same with anybody.
Yeah.
But also 2 listens of all these albums is not going to do that. You need to sit with these albums for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot. Sameness does not even begin to cover it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of not why that's not why I like it.
Sure.
Because it kicks your ass and it's intense and it feels good. The reason why I like the first album is because it just feels good. I can't say that's a great riff right there. It just feels good. So, Masters of Legalized Confusion, it's like, man, the arrangements are just so crazy. You just don't know what the hell is going to happen. You don't really know what already happened. But there's just like little moments that you can kind of hold on to around there. For me, it's 225. There's this really stoner metal section there that feels fucking cool. It's very Sabbathy, but it's still pulled off well.
Another big one on the album is Raptured Heart Theory, and that one is slow as fuck, even for like, or I should say there's sections that are slow as fuck even for a band like Eyehategod.
That song rules. That's songs like that is what I was missing on the last album. That's what I was hearing. That kind of stuff is that's why I like sludge. Like when it's just hideous and ton of feedback and super slow and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I think Non-Conductive Reason is the like ugliest song on this album, though.
It is ugly as shit. Yes. Not conductive, negative reasoning. Faster. It's faster. It's a little disjointed, but super duper short, super ugly.
Yeah.
The slobberiest of screams.
Surprisingly, Zero Nowhere is one of their most like gallopy songs. A standout for me is Peace Through War. It like immediately grabbed my attention. It's pretty like furious because I think it's easy to get lost in this slow, druggy world, and then like Peace Through War is just like bam, punches you in the face.
I like the parentheses. It's Peace Through War through Peace and War, which I find to be a funny phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah. It brings back some of the punk stuff. It's weirdly cleaner than everything else. And by cleaner, I mean, there's like less bleed over, there's less feedback. It sounds more contained. It's not a clean song by any means, but it does kind of re-grab, because I was pretty lost. Not lost, but like Methamphetamine, the track before it, my least favorite on the album. It's just, it leans so hard into the Sabbath stuff on this latter half of the album. That song is kind of like my least favorite of the bunch. But Peace Through War, yeah, it still goes full sludge after like 30 seconds, but it's enough to regain my attention.
Yeah, I think is it the closing track? 1 second.
Anxiety Hangover is the closer.
Yeah, like, man, this, like, the title, I'm like, it's fucking amazing title, because I always like tell people I have like a migraine hangover, and I don't think like people understand that, but yeah, like you can be hungover from pain and like mental anxious. So I was like, yeah, these lyrics are fucking cool.
Yeah, the final 2 tracks are some of the coolest on the album. Anxiety Hangover has this whole outro section with these rad ass drums. Whole section fucking rules. And then Broken Down but not locked up, broken down but not locked up, at least not yet for Mike 9. Man, yeah, it has one of the most memorable riffs on the whole album for me. And then in the last few seconds, it goes full high speed punk. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the most brutal, one of the most ugly and sludgy on the album. It's fucking great. Yeah, I mean, I like the album a lot. I probably would have given this best if it weren't the first one. The first one just feels like this special little thing. It's obviously not going to be a lot of people's best, but there's something about it that I see that as like, when I think of like classic, it's not a punk album, but I think of classic punk albums. Like I think of, I referenced Agnostic Front earlier, but like their first album I think it was Victim in Pain. It's this dirty, fucked up kind of shitty hardcore punk album, but it just has this thing about it that feels so consistent and perfect. It has it's like one complete statement where it just feels like, yeah, that's the one. Like in a very different way, but in the same kind of way, where I think of the Mysterious De Satana from Mayhem or whatever, where it's like, it's this flawed album, but it has this thing to it that just feels so complete and right. That's how I feel about this band.
Yeah. Also, when you make choices like that, the first one I remember you making, and like I guess like ground zero for me was when you picked Strapping Young Lads. I would throw that Strapping Young Lad debut
heavy
album.
Is a really heavy thing.
Yeah. This one, dude, this one isn't as out of like left field as that, because like that band turned into something totally different. But yeah,
that band turned into something amazing, and they were amazing until the very end.
Yeah.
But that one had such a personality to it, and such a thing to it that I just like. I find that so interesting. Like when it's recorded a certain way, when the songs feel a certain way, things that you can't just do. They just happen, and you can't plan for it. That's the stuff that I end up enjoying the most. This album rolls, and it is good sludge. So that is that. Are you? Wait, actually, no. Let's look at some of the context behind this. This is produced, mixed, and engineered by Billy Anderson.
I forget who that is.
He did Neurosis, Swans, Relevant, Sleep, Brutal Truth, Buzz Oven, Phantomos, Agalok, Cattle Decap, Mr. Bungle, Asunder, Red House Painters, Wounded Giant.
Yeah,
the man does some good stuff.
Yeah,
and this is what Mike says about this, about making the making of the opening song, My Name Is God. He says, we were in a fairly fancy studio that Century Media Records was paying for, and we wanted to capture the sound of breaking glass and me screaming and carrying on for the intro to the album. We grabbed a trash can and a shitload of bottles laying around, dropped a microphone into the can, and hit the record button. I proceeded to do my job, pummeling the bottles against one another and yelling violently, when the next thing I saw was blood pouring out of my hand into the garbage bin, dripping onto the floor and all over myself.
Nice.
Joey, our drummer, began writing in my blood on the floor, death to pigs, hell, and helter skelter. It's hard to recall what all was written. The next day, when we were at home sleeping off the night before, The studio prick owner engineer opened up the place. He got an eyeball full of what working with Eyehategod in the 90s was like. He immediately called Century Media, whom we hated with a passion then also. Jesus Christ. Freaking out, asking if we were mentally unstable, and said we would have to be evicted from finishing up the record, and he may possibly call the police on us. Ha ha ha. He was a normie Christian loser type of dude. Oh yeah, total loser being freaked out by all the blood with words written
around his expensive equipment. Yeah.
CMR called up Jimmy, and they were also freaking out, saying we have to go get our equipment and find another studio. Luckily, we were done with the recordings and only had to mix it. So Billy Anderson took the tapes with him, and Joey and Brian flew out to San Francisco and mixed it in like 2 days on lots of amphetamine sulfate. Fun fact, only a small part of the recording of me smashing the bottles was used as the intro. Somewhere there's more of that nonsense on reel-to-reel tape. Oh, good God almighty. Best album.
Yeah. I might have to retroactively change my pick.
That is nuts, man. These fucking guys are out of their minds.
I mean, yeah, they're like... I'm going to assume all of them are drug addicts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they gotta be. I mean, how do you not be with all this
I mean, Mike Williams and Jimmy Bauer for sure. The other, and probably Joe Lacaz. But yeah, like, I just assume if there's 3, the rest are. Because that'd be wild, being sober in the like, how are you?
That'd be. Also, I don't think I mentioned at the top. Mike Williams, Mike Nine Williams. I probably should have said that way earlier, but mistakes. But yeah. But anyway, let's move on. Now we're in the 21st century, baby. This is 2000's Confederacy of Ruined Lives. Wouldn't be Eyehategod if it didn't open with fading in feedback.
Yeah, why would you do anything else? It's perfect.
Yeah.
Little bit different.
Oh yeah, we never got anything like this. Machine gun drums?
Kind of reminds me more of the Sword a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. Also, production is way up.
Yeah.
This is like $1 million production for these guys' standards.
Kind of sounds like Max from Sepultura now.
Yes, it does. So, Max like Sepultura for sure, but on a more general note, on a general description, way less unhinged. He's just sort of
He's
just sort of a metal singer now.
Yeah, the slobber's gone.
The slobber is gone. That is a shame. I do love the slobber.
Yeah. So this was like interesting that they're like changing it up a little bit.
Yeah. So whereas I did like the last album quite a bit, this one took another step back for me. I think it's a fine album. I think it's a good album. It's not one of my favorites. I would say even might be my second least favorite album.
I think the harshness and like chaotic, slobbery vocals have been traded in for like crunchy stuff, a little more groovy stuff here.
Yes. Yeah. There's way more grooviness here, as we heard from that opening song, and yeah, it's the rawness is basically gone. I mean, this is raw music generally, so it still has that to it. But I mean, compared to the early stuff, was very raw and very. You felt such sincerity from it.
Normal people will still listen to this and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? But
yeah. This is still brutal music. This is still very brutal music, but it is cleaner. It is a better produced, better performed, which I don't think is great. I wanted worse performed. I want worse recorded.
Yeah, for sickos, this is cleaner.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, fair enough. But there's still a lot of good stuff on here. What else we got? I think the ugliest. You go ahead.
I think self-medication blues is like, oh, okay, that's like a down riff. I think down had started by now, so I think some of that influence is making its way back into Eyehategod, and specifically that song.
Self-medication, but yeah, that's I do not care for that song. That's not a good sign for me listening to Down then, because
no, it's not. No, I don't. Yeah.
It's really just a Sabbath song, especially the way it speeds up. It speeds up the way Sabbath does. Like I don't mind when like bands are like clearly influenced by another band at all, but when you're just making like a song that they would have made, it's like, fuck, man, that's really derivative. It's fine. I'm not into it though. I feel the same with the following track, the Concussion Machine Process. It's okay. It's an okay song. But like even that swinging section at the end, it's like Sabbath does swinging rhythms like that. It just makes me need more. It's not that it's bad on its own. It's not that it's a horrible song. I just need more than that.
I think this album kind of gets more repetitive in nature in the back half, even for a band like this. I do think the Concussion Machine Process, like towards the end, does this like cool, like whirly effect where it like kind of feeds into Inferior and Full of Anxiety. And then that song's interesting because that's kind of like they start doing these start-stop riffs where like, you know, the riff will play, they'll stop for a little bit and then like get back into it. And that's surprisingly something they'll apply into the like next two albums after this. So
yeah, there's a lot more there's a lot more stop-start, there's a lot more chokes, a lot more space. It's not just giant open note with slow drums. With Inferior and Full of Anxiety, that's a weird one because it has this really, really solid intro, and then it goes into this chromatic ascending riff. It's like 3 chromatic ascending notes, but it's like almost silly sounding. It's weirdly playful, and then it follows it with these fucking Captain Beefheart lead guitars where they're like, you know, these strange guitars dancing on each other, and it's their weirdest song yet. And fuck it, yeah, I'm into this. It's so unusual. It's easily the weirdest song at this point.
I'm glad you acknowledge that some of these riffs kind of have like a good time vibe to them, because I didn't know if I was crazy by the time, specifically in 99 Miles, A Bad Road. Like those riffs are kind of like, like hard rock riffs.
Hard rock through and through.
Yeah, and they just have these particularly nasty vocals over them. I do kind of like the repetitive nature, the like ending of that one. Like that's a repetitive riff I can like really get behind.
I don't even recall the ending riff of that one. I was so turned off by the hard rockness and the Sabbathness of it. So a song like 99 Miles of Bad Road, that makes sense with the Southern hardcore blues band genre label. That makes yes.
Yeah.
Put it for that song. But even though it does a lot of stuff that I keep saying I don't like, I still don't mind how it's pulled off. Like Blood Money is one that I like, where it's kind of a hybrid of like the ugly, weird, sludgy stuff and then pentatonic stuff. But it's fun. It's really funny, especially when it gets faster. Jackass and the Will of God is another really brutal one with a lot of movement. But even like the hard rock section around 120 there isn't bad. I like that too.
Yeah.
And there's this chunk at the end with these you know, kind of bluesy bass lines that it's I don't love the direction, but it's still pretty cool.
I agree. I think this album opens up more interesting than it closes because, like, yeah, by the time Last Year She Wanted a Doll and Corrupted Scheme come on, I'm just kind of burnt out. Particularly Last Year, that one is like, all right, I know what you guys do. You're very good at it, but we're 4 albums in.
Do you actually like that one more than Corruption Scheme? I liked it even more on second listen.
Yeah.
I like the bass, especially the bass on that song.
I just give Corrupted Scheme the slight nod because the riffs are a little more evil sounding to me, at least.
One that I can't ignore.
Okay.
0.001% because this song really pissed me off. It would have been my favorite song on the album. It would have easily been my favorite song on the album if the first 3 minutes wasn't just feedback. I mean, 3 straight minutes of feedback. I thought that was gonna be the whole song. I thought it was, it's another one of these fucking songs. 6 minutes of bullshit. And then 3 minutes in, it's the best. It's my favorite song on the album. It's like, God, come on, man. I'm not gonna sit through all that shit every time. Come on.
I don't know. I think, there aren't a lot of like heavy drone elements in there, but I do think having like 3 minutes of feedback is, sludge metal adjacent. So, and especially like once the like music kicks in, the riffs are very minimal. The drum fills are very slow and minimal. It's the most drony thing they've done up until this point.
The most drony, the most sludgy in that drone kind of minimal in amount of notes kind of style. Sort of a Big Brave type thing where it's just one note for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty cool. But I think it's a good album. It is a step back for me, and I think because I much like the second album, I was caught off guard with how much they're leaning into the Sabbath worship here compared to Dopesick. Like it's almost like they're alternating. Like this one's gonna be way more brutal. This one's gonna be way more Sabbathy. And this one's gonna be way more brutal. This is gonna be way. So this is part 2 of Take As Need for Pain for me. Except not nearly as good. In my opinion, I think I like it better, but
yeah,
not good for what it is.
I'm assuming playing in down and probably making more money in down had an impact on this album's sound.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Now we're on to the horrors of Hurricane Katrina and how much that fucked things up for Mike 9 and the boys.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. So
it's like the Sunny in Philadelphia opening, like the gang lives through Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah. So this is from the wiki. And the subheader for the section is Hurricane Katrina and jail. And it says,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. When Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans on August 29, 2005, Williams was at his home in the Lower Garden District with his then girlfriend. About 8 hours after the beginning of the storm, the power went out. By listening to battery-powered radio announcements, they were able to find out that the situation in New Orleans was quite bad. After the hurricane passed, the water in Williams' neighborhood subsided. This time, violence and crime in the area became rampant, and the police were not in a position to help their residents. Williams recalled, "There was a dead body around the corner from me. I saw someone pulling an ATM down the street, chained to the bumper of their car. Things got pretty hectic." Jesus Christ. Now, what are you doing? I thought about this. If you're the type of person to chain an ATM to your car to try and figure out how to open it up later, what are you doing with that money? Because no one's gonna all right, I can finally turn my life around now with this ATM money.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen Fast 5 where they drag 2 bank vaults down the streets of Brazil, and they figured it out. And Vin Diesel and the boys aren't the smartest, so if they could do it, I believe in this Nolan's resident to.
I believe that they can get it open. I don't believe that they're that even a little bit like because a lot of excuses that we've all done it because we've both been like pretty dirt poor where it's like, oh yeah, if I just had some more money, I could finally start doing this. But if you're getting money like that, that's not even a thought. You're not thinking about how you can like. There's no way that that's ever going to be used to any good whatsoever. If you're still in an ATM, no chance in hell.
I mean, yeah, it was Mad Max times. Mad
Max times, exactly. Yeah. There's just a bunch of toe cutters out there. But that's a reference from the very first Mad Max that most people probably haven't seen. That's not true.
The toe cutter.
I didn't realize that the actor who played Toe Cutter played Immortan Joe in Fury Road. Yeah. And then the only reason he play him again in Furiosa is because he died. Which is
fascinating series.
Fascinating series. Great
also,
movies.
Like the stunt work in one is so like hurts me because they didn't know how to do stunts.
Oh, it's been a while since I've seen it, but yeah.
It's not the most action-packed Mad Max movie. It is the most bizarre and it's really raw. And I really just think it was like, what can we do on film? And that's the movie we got.
I love it. I think the first Mad Max is great. The Mad Max 3 is where shit gets weird. You bring Tina Turner into this and you're all bets are off, baby.
Yeah. Anyways,
continuing here, it says in the 2020 book Raising Hell, Backstage Tales from the Lives of Metal Legends, Williams stated he looted a pharmacy after the hurricane and didn't get busted until 3 days later. Oh, wow. So this whole story is fucking nuts. So it says inside the house, they could hear gunshots. And at one time, upon leaving the apartment, Williams' partner was confronted by a person who attempted to rob her. Williams intervened on her behalf. In order to escape the violence, Williams and his partner slept at the apartment of a friend. The following morning, they borrowed a car and traveled to Morgan City, Louisiana, where Williams received word that his house had burned down.
Whew.
Gets worse. They booked a hotel room in Morgan City. Apparently, the person who attended them could see they were from New Orleans because they had to show their identity document. I don't know why they didn't just put ID. They actually spelled out identity document. That's fucking weird. For unknown reasons, this person contacted the police. Members of the police entered Williams' room and arrested him.
Ooh.
Gets worse. Keeps getting worse. Williams was convicted of drug possession and jailed. Bail was set at $150,000 for drug possession. You know, the things that aren't hurting anybody else, only yourself.
Yeah.
An amount Williams was unable to afford. You don't say. Playing at Eyehategod, he couldn't afford that? Really?
You got to call Phil Ensemble and his rich friends up.
Don't bury the lead. You're getting to it.
Oh, sorry. I had no idea.
Here we go. With help from his lawyer, Williams filed for a bond reduction, which was rejected by the court on the grounds that Williams was a threat to society. A threat to society. All of it? To all of society?
Maybe himself. Also, like, you would think they'd be a little more lenient considering the fucking hell that city went through.
You'd think, or they would be shittier about it, which is also as likely.
Yeah.
Continuing. Williams was anxious at this time as his friends and associates were unaware that he was in jail. A fund to help free Williams was created, and his bandmates encouraged fans to send letters to him while he was in jail. Williams recounted that his experience in jail was punitive in nature rather than rehabilitative. He expressed his belief that prison employees are sadists and was quoted saying, "I think they like to hurt other people and like to see other people's misery." So you're already saying yup. I'm saying yup because I've heard it from the fucking horse's mouth. I knew a guy. He was a relative of an old girl from when I was a teenager who was a sheriff. And he, in order to be a sheriff, I don't know if it's everywhere, but in LA, you had to work as a prison guard.
And beat your wife, probably.
Maybe. Luckily, he wasn't married. But you have to work as a prison guard. And he would just tell me stories of how he would just go in there, provoke them, make sure they threw the first punch so that he wouldn't get in trouble, and then beat the fuck out of them. It's like, okay, you're a bad guy. This guy was a bad guy. He's the kind of guy where he walks in a room and you just feel him.
Yeah.
Like there's some people that are just like, all right, this guy's, he's not saying anything, but he's loud.
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable. He's kind of like, so I'm not surprised. Of course that shit happens, man. Fuck. But now the light has come. The light from the sun has shone through the clouds. God has arrived. Later, Phil Anselmo paid the bail money to have Williams released. Upon his release, Williams spent several months staying at Anselmo's home.
Yeah.
Goddamn. So he was saved by the goddamn Phil Anselmo.
There you go. Dude has enough space. He could have probably taken in a number of struggling New Orleans musicians.
Yeah. So good that he did that. Because yes, this Mike Nine has probably done some pretty heinous shit. He's had rough life, drug addict, but also this,
like you said,
from this account, this account seems pretty kind of unjust. It's wrong.
Yeah. The, prison system is not meant to reform people. My opinion, it fucking should. I don't think if he stayed in prison, I don't think sending a drug addict in and beating him up daily is going to make him get sober when he comes out.
Yeah, that's just you learn how to be a better criminal in prison. You see all kinds of stories. Like you learn how to. The same with anything. You adapt to whatever you're in, and you learn how to play the rules of that. And when you're in American prisons, whew. But
shout out to the dudes in my current class who it's kind of a story, but ended up with a few reformed felons because they go to community college. Shout out to those guys trying to turn their life around, do the right thing.
Oh yeah, I've encountered some in community college as well. It's pretty entertaining dudes, honestly.
I mean, they're there showing up, doing the work. Like I'm happy for them.
Yeah, that's all you can do, really.
Yeah.
So we just went through this whole thing about how rough of a go it was. It gets a little bit worse. It keeps getting worse because it's not the end.
There's two more horrible things that happen.
So this piece says, in September, Eyehategod's original drummer and Williams' lifelong friend, Joey Lacaze, died at the age of 42, leaving behind a wife, a daughter, and friends. Suddenly, the future of this hitherto unshakable band hung in the balance. Williams and his brothers in arms, Jimmy Bauer, Brian Patton, and Gary Maters, were faced with the brutal decision to either throw in the towel or to forge ahead into uncharted territory. They chose the latter option, and it's no surprise that the term lifer was invented for cats like these.
Couldn't
agree more.
Yeah. Before that, in March 2025, Jimmy Bauer's girlfriend passed away too.
Oh, this is a couple months ago.
Or sorry. I'm dyslexic when I read numbers. 2005.
2005. Okay. Oh, geez. So
I don't know what it is where I read my numbers and my brain and my mouth don't fucking. So yeah,
it happens.
Rough stretch,
dude. So yeah, man, this band has been through a lot. That sucks.
Yeah.
Jeez. But they decided to keep moving on, and they're back. I mean, a pretty big gap later for obvious reasons, but it's time to move on. You ready?
I am ready.
Hell yes. This is 2014's self-titled. Opening with punk this time.
Yep, it's back.
And honestly, one of my favorite punk songs that they've ever done. I think it's probably the coolest punk thing they've ever done.
I agree with you.
So that's a pretty cool ass opener. Very different opener for them.
Yeah. So like to my amazement, like that like grabbed me instantly. I just thought I heard all this band's bag of tricks, and this is my personal favorite album.
I don't mind that. I like this album a lot. I mean, I actually like these later albums quite a bit. So this one's pretty sick.
Yeah, that song grabbed me immediately. I loved it. And then Trying to Crack the Hard Dollar comes on, and I think those are some of the like coolest riffs they've written. And like Parish Hotel Sickness is like very epic.
Motel Sickness, yeah.
Oh, my bad. And like, yeah, it's like there's this big 14-year break. They've like been through hell, and they just sound so reinvigorated on this album.
Yeah, agreed. The riffs on Trying to Crack the Hard Dollar, so unusual. And this is where why I like these later albums, because while they do go into some savvy stuff from time to time here, for sure, it's not just ugly, mean, bitter riffs. There's weird, odd riffs. Like the main riff in that one, it's just so unusual. There's a lot of space in it too. There's more chokes and stuff. And it's just refreshing that it's like, oh, I've never heard a riff like this. This is so it's so weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have problems with this album. I have 2 problems with this album, and those are back to back. That's Quitter's Offensive and Nobody Told Me. Now, Quitter's Offensive is also very weird. How do you feel about that one?
That is one of my least favorite tracks on the album. So, yeah, I guess I'm coming together with you on that one.
It's almost jaunty happy. It's so unusual. It's chuggy for sure, and it's really interesting. I just don't like any of the riffs.
I do, however, like Nobody Told Me. I think that has some dirt and grime on it. There's this unusual solo on it.
That's a great solo.
Yeah. Very Southern sounding at times. And then when they're more towards the end, there's this section where it like really picks up, and those riffs are great.
So the reason, and I'm just repeating myself at this point, Nobody Told Me is perhaps their biggest Sabbath ripoff. I mean, it's just Iron Man. The nobody wants him
sure.
section. Nobody Told Me section.
Yeah.
The way it speeds up, it's that section. It's just that. I mean, it's not note for note that, but boy, does it sound like they were listening to that when they wrote it.
Different enough for me.
Different enough for Alex, not enough for me.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, pretty varied. One of the most varied albums. Worthless Rescue. It's a very, very hard rock, stoner rock sounding, but it's got great energy to it. It's pulled off pretty well.
Yeah. And yeah, I think Framed to the Wall keeps that energy going. I did find it amusing, like towards the end, there's this one riff where it sounds like it's like scaling to the end, like they're going to play that riff and the song's going to end, but they just keep playing the riff over and over again.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
They sure do. The opening to Frame to the Wall really sounds like more New York hardcore, like early New York hardcore. Very guttural and macho sounding. That's kind of like how I describe New York hardcore. And then Robitussin and Rejection, great song title, but also very, very ugly, but very, very cool.
Sounds like a rough fucking night. And I'm sure there's been plenty of those.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Flags and Cities Bound is probably my favorite song on the album. I mean, goddamn. So good.
Yeah. The drones back here. They're one of their more experimental songs. You get this like spoken word stuff over feedback.
It's great. It's one of their meanest and sludgiest songs in the entire discography. It's the longest song here. It's 7 minutes. Every other song is like fucking 3. And it's one of the most powerful, really. Like that, even though it is droney and very Melvinsy in the way Melvins do it, especially in the final chunk, it still feels real goddamn good. And that's the only reason why I think Medicine News kind of feels weak. Like I like Medicine News. I think it's a good song.
Oh, I disagree.
But following that one, I felt like it was lacking.
I disagree. I think having those songs like works because like I think there's like this drone thing with Flags and City Bound, and like I needed something high energy. So I love that. Like I thought that was like perfect sequencing in my opinion.
I think for the collection of songs here, that's the best. That's the best bet. I would have liked the album to have ended after Flags and Cities Bound because it's such a great closer. I mean, it just leaves that impression. So that's what I mean. Like for me, anything after that would have suffered. Even though I do think Medicine News is a good song.
You could have cut Quitter's Offense, slot in Medicine News in there, and end the album at Flags and Cities Bound.
Yep. Yeah, that actually would have probably been a lot better. It closes with The Age of Boot Camp, which is, I like this one too. This is another one of my favorite songs in the album. There's fucking blasting on here.
Yeah. I don't like that as much as Medicine News, but not bad. I
think it's great. Yeah. The blasting comes out of nowhere. It doesn't do it a whole bunch. I don't know if it's like twice in the whole song, but it's still a nice little, like really, left turn. You really weren't expecting that. And like many others, it's really hard to keep track of. There's a lot of riffs, but it feels pretty damn good. I much like every other album, I could just say the same thing. I don't like the Sabbath stuff so much, but damn it, I like everything else.
Yeah. I was, surprised. A big break and, not personally, but musically a big break. And, I just found it to be really charming, and they sound like they're, not full of the original Piss and Vinegar you get on the first album, but like definitely energized. So,
oh yes, lots of energy on this one. Yeah, definitely feel it. Around this time period, they toured. Tom noted in our notes that they toured basically nonstop from March 2017 to April 2020. And this interview, apparently he was in the hospital. It says, "You were in the hospital before the long tour started. Is that correct?" And Mike says, "Yeah, in 2016, I was in the hospital for 3 months waiting for a new liver, and I got it. So I'm good." That's
very
cool.
Nonchalant. Yeah, he's very nonchalant about. I read some of that.
Yeah, pretty lax to talk about getting a whole new fucking liver. So this is actually interesting. So he's clean now, as far as I know. They asked him, "Are you getting much use out of it on tour?" And he says, "I haven't. I might have a glass of wine on tour, but I don't drink like I used to drink it. No, not at all. I mean, I don't even feel like doing it. It's kind of one of those things you can't do heavy while you're on tour. I haven't drank during the pandemic at all, like since March of last year, probably even before that. I mean, the guys in my band drink beer. I don't drink beer. And it got to the point where we toured so much that by the end of 2019, all the guys in my band were just over it. They couldn't drink. They were totally sick of the whole thing. Like, waking up feeling like shit. It was too hectic with the schedule. So that was kind of funny to see. They toured themselves sober.
Who would have
thought? How often do you see that?
Yeah, usually people are trying to escape the hardships of the road, but these guys realized it made it worse.
Jesus Christ. I think they got stuck in Ukraine, in Kyiv, because that was when the pandemic hit, when they were in Ukraine, which is pretty nuts. I think they were touring with Napalm Death. Tom notes that he saw them on that tour in Prague. He says, "Jimmy Bauer damaged my eardrum with his piercing feedback. Thanks, Jimmy. Still love you."
I might have a Jimmy Bauer guitar pick. I will check.
Oh, really?
From down.
Oh, nice. But now we're on to the most recent album. Let's just hope not the last album, but the most recent album. You ready to wrap this up?
I'm ready.
Hell yes. This is 2021's A History of Nomadic Behavior.
Return to Sanctuary Media.
Oh. Vocals are different now.
You can actually hear what he's saying. Yeah.
easily too. He also sounds fucking annoying.
It's like more punk now. The vocals.
I would say like 90s punk.
Yeah.
Solid vocals. Yeah, I know it. Take it back. There's plenty of GFA sounds like that. Yeah, very punk vocals.
Also, they have fast tempos, they have slow tempos. This one is like very normal BPMs.
Mid bass, yeah. Not used to hearing them do mid bass so much.
No.
So, this is some of the most busy, interesting drums that they've ever done. And now it gets sludgy. But like these arrangements are fucking non-stop. They just keep going. And that's not the end of the song. It goes.
It keeps going and does a bunch of other wild shit. There's some weird riffs on this one. Say it, Alex.
Yeah, worst, least favorite. This by the nature that I've had enough of the band. And I agree with you. I think there's some like weird, interesting guitar riffs and arrangements. And I don't know if they work for me.
I like this album. I hate his vocals. I hate his vocals on the whole album. It's the only album I don't like his vocals at all. But the songs I think are actually quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most. I think it's the most varied album they have, the most diverse, the weirdest, the most unexpected. But it's also the least sludgy, the least straightforward sludgy for sure.
Most definitely. I guess like the biggest one here when I talk about like being more weird and trying different things would be the Trial of Johnny Cancer.
That's the first song that completely loses me.
Okay, yeah. Which is like, yeah, he ends up doing this like spoken word thing. He said he was going for like a Nick Cave thing, and yeah, that's probably like the most like avant-garde his lyrics have been.
Interesting. I didn't even note the lyrics because I mean the title of the song already is so zany kind of.
Yeah.
And the song is actually kind of zany.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of their weirdest it's like their poppiest song.
That's crazy.
It's crazy that it's like a poppy song. It doesn't make any fucking sense, but it's still so strange and it's kooky. It's really, really interesting. But I just don't enjoy it very much. I just don't love the riffs. I can appreciate the weird. I appreciate that they did something so unusual, but I like how they do other stuff a lot more. Like the Outer Banks is just full of bizarre riffs. It's like on stuff from the last album, where it's blending happy riffs with ugly riffs, and it just doesn't make any sense. There's no rhyme or reason to the riffs. They just sort of go to these places that don't make any sense, but that's actually kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. And it keeps me like not wondering, but just it's like you're on a roller coaster of some sort. Where I guess if you get too much of that kind of thing, you can get bored, but it's so much more refreshing than just pentatonic hard rock riffs. It's just like, oh, what the fuck is happening? This is so weird.
I assumed Three Black Eyes was like, I don't know why I thought this band would like, oh, you're like, you're psychic, your third eye is
I thought that too for a second. Yeah.
And then I read Mike's comments about the song, and he's like, well, in a fight, you need two people, so three black eyes. And that's it.
That is way less interesting than someone bruising your third eye.
This is a blue collar drug addict band. It's not.
yeah. I'm trying to. This isn't like a Sun O kind of.
No.
But on that one, it's one of the faster ones. Very, very pissed off song. There's around 120 non-screamed vocals. That was very shocking.
Like a first, yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't mind it. It's a lot. Much like every other song here, very hard to grasp as a whole because there's so many little moving parts and so many millions of different changes, but I don't mind it at all.
I think Mike sounds the best on Current Situation.
Oh, why so?
I like his vocal performance the best there. Like, this is almost like an Alien sounding album a little bit. I think like they're just trying some different things, but yeah, like it sounds different enough compared to like that first song we heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does kind of follow that pattern of like the heavy galloping riffs, and then it gets kind of slow, and then there's a feedback section. But
yeah, I do appreciate the busy bass lines with the drums going nuts on the first chunk of it, and eventually it kind of gets crazy toward the end again. I like the song. I think it's a good song, but I'm not surprised, or I don't mind you giving this horse so much when you look at songs like High Risk Trigger, which is like, man, songs like this, like I get it. It's just they're bleeding into each other. We've heard a lot of this at this point. Like, okay, this will be a lot better if you step away from the band for a long time, and then this is what you listen to first.
Yes,
like, I mean, all these bands, I think. I'm sorry, all these albums probably would benefit from that than binging the whole discography.
Yes, yeah. Actually, I mean, yeah, I don't mind High Risk Trigger, but I agree with you. Like, Anemic Robotic and like
Anemic Robotic, yeah,
Anemic Robotic, and the day felt wrong. It's just kind of blending in. Like, I get it. I know. I'm sorry to the fans, but I know.
Totally. I know. I feel the same about all three of those songs. I like all three of the songs, but by the end of The Day Felt Wrong, fatigue has hit me. Like, okay, but like you, fatigue with the whole discography.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, okay, all right. These are cool songs. They are unusual riffs. There's a great breakdown at 1:30 of High Risk Trigger. It's like, these are cool sections. There's cool moments. I'm tired. Yes.
I do think the end of the album is a little more interesting, particularly the little interludes, Smoker's Piece.
Fucking great. I can't believe it's not a full
different.
song.
It's so different.
It's a jazz. It's like a jazz interlude.
Yeah,
and it's a minor key jazz interlude, and legitimately impressive.
Yeah,
and I can believe that they didn't make a full song out of it because it's a jazz song essentially on a fucking sludge metal record. But also, why the hell not? It pulled off well.
Yeah. And then I think Circle of Nerves has a little more energy to it than these weirder songs, and I got a kick out of just screaming out one motherfucker. I just thought that was funny. So
I'm not too big on Circle of Nerves. It's more, it's not that it's bad anyway. It just sort of blended. It's starting to blend in with all the others a little too much by the end of the album. I'm okay, very much okay with Everything Every Day, the closer.
Same.
It's happy. Yeah, it's happy, but it's ugly and it's also angry. It's just another batshit song.
Yeah, it's this, a song about the repetitive nature of life, like when you listen to Eyehategod's entire discography in 1 week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all for, songs singing about encouraging people to kill their boss, so.
Yeah, not mine because I like my bosses, but everyone else's, absolutely, yeah.
Do it. Especially if they're rich, do it.
Well, yeah, I suppose. Although, in my experience, from my shitty jobs, the worst are the ones who are barely above you. The ones that are above you, like your barely bosses, are always the worst. The worst ones.
Sure, they're on like a power trip because they think who they're working for. That's who they think they are.
I could point to like almost every single shitty job that I've had. The big boss was fine. The one below it was the monster. Like almost it's crazy.
That's by design, though. I always think of like when Vince was running WWE and people would get fired and the wrestlers would always go, "Oh, Vince loves me. Vince loves me." It wasn't because Vince I got fired. It was because of this guy, Bruce Pritchard, or it's because Triple H, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, who do you think signed off on the firing, you dum-dums?
I agree that that's the case for Vince McMahon. I don't agree that that's the case for workplaces in general. I think, I think middle management is its own, like people in those positions tend to.
I think it's by design. They want that distance between them and their employees.
I don't think it's by design. I think a lot of it goes unnoticed because I've seen it. I've seen it way too many times. You get dickheads who abuse power. I don't think people appoint dickheads. I think people try to appoint efficiency, and that's also anecdotal for sure. But that's just what I've seen in my long horrible time in the workforce.
Well, that's a different subject. So
for sure, it's one that I'm sure Eyehategod has pondered plenty on their own. But despite, Alex has given this Worsley's favorite, but despite its glaring issues, I actually think it's pretty good. I think it's a good album. Yeah,
I'm sure longtime fans are plenty pleased with it.
Honestly, I think it's one of my favorite albums of theirs. Despite the fact that I think the vocals are, I hate the vocals. It's the only album where I not only do I not like the vocals, I dislike the vocals. It's the only album where I dislike the vocals. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, it's diverse, it's interesting, it's bizarre and ugly, and it's not going to be for most people. Really, this is, even for metal fans, you can't really pitch this shit. But that brings us,
do something different if you've been around for so long, and this is an attempt, at least.
It's surprisingly thorough attempt at being different. Oh my God. This interview, this is the interview question. It says, your vocals sound really good on it, by the way. I think this is probably the clearest that your vocals have probably ever been. I'm like, this is oh man.
Just because they're clear doesn't mean they're good. Okay.
So as for the vocals, Mike says, you're right. They are clearer and more pronounced. And that wasn't a conscious thing. I really didn't even go in there and say, I'm going to do it like this. Sometimes you go to the studio and you find yourself in that snapshot of time. Yeah, that is interesting. That's just how he grew. He just grew into being a more punky, snarly, really enunciating kind of guy.
Yeah, might be different on the next album.
Yeah, that's interesting. But that brings us to the end. Finally, let's do a little recap.
Best take as needed for pain. Personal favorite, self-titled. And worst least favorite, a history of nomadic behavior.
And for me, best personal favorite, In the Name of Suffering, because it's filthy and terrible. And worst least favorite, go ahead and stab me if you want. Take as needed for pain. That's sludge in a nutshell for sure, but it's the sludge that I'm not so big on. There it is. There we go. But thank you so much for listening and watching and hanging out. Thank you to Donald for suggesting this and supporting us on Patreon. Please don't unsubscribe now that Alex is leaving the show, although you're free to do so. Please don't. But you can. It's a free goddamn country. If you want to hang out with us further, like the video if you like the video, talk some shit in the comments, tell us why we're idiots, or just hang out with us further and join the club. You can follow me on all social media at PanderMonkey and Alex on Bluesky at
Octatron3030.
And please be sure to follow our history guy who did a lot of dirt digging for this episode, Tom Osman, at Tom Osman Sounds on all social media, as well as TomOsmanSounds.com for his music and his podcast, Whatever Comes Next, where he interviews a bunch of indie musicians, and it's very interesting stuff. You can find links to that in the description. You can find a link to my EP in the description as well if you want to listen to that. And last but not least, patreon.com, baby. That's where you go. You get bonus episodes. You get to see our schedules in advance. You get to vote on polls to decide who we cover next, although that's going to be on hold for a little bit. We have some pretty big poll winners coming up pretty soon. You can join the Discord, be a part of the community, talk shop, talk ship, talk music, and suggest brand new albums from this year for us to cover on our shorter single episodes. And if you're tier two, then you can suggest bonus episodes for Patreon. So any album from anywhere, we'll do a bonus episode on it. So go there, do that. Thank you. Hell yes. No more final song because Spotify is just fucking hemorrhaging episodes. If you're listening on Spotify, most of the old episodes are fucking not going to be around. That's okay. Till next time. Thanks so much for listening and watching. See ya.